Okay, well, just want to start by thanking everyone for taking time out of their Cinco de Mayo party. I'm not sure if there's a few margaritas that have been enjoyed during lunch, but hopefully we'll get your focus. um, so I'm going to pass this over to Michael and Julie, mostly because they're the ones that are going to be kind of explaining this new systemization process and foundation that I came across, and I was very impressed with actually about 6 months ago. And Michael was kind enough to offer this demo for all of you, and there's a great offer at the end. But wanted to also let you know that Julie Harvey is here, and she's going to be commenting and giving some perspective from the insurance and IT side of things, because she's been deeply involved with helping build out the insurance side of this, and as most of you are on this call are with independent insurance brokers. So if you don't already know Julie, Julie has, I've known Julie for over 15 years now, and she's been involved in IT and the insurance industry for over 30 years. And she had basically been involved in helping agencies with their standard operating procedures, helping agents organize their business through technology, and many of you have actually probably still have some of her operations and systems and processes left over from when she was deeply involved in helping agencies go paperless. So that's Julie, and she's going to be talking soon or jumping in during the presentation. And Michael, I met, like I said, Michael a few months back, and we've been very impressed with his company, which is Business Design Corporation. He consults small to medium-sized businesses. He's been doing it for more than 15 years now. And for those of us who are familiar with Michael Gerber and the E-Myth, Michael was what's known as a Master Certified E-Myth consultant. So he's helped hundreds of businesses systemize through a variety of methods and tools, mostly based on E-Myth, but this foundational cloud-based tool is what we're going to be showing you about, called Touchstone. So that being said, I'm going to pass this back over to Michael and let him kind of explain what today's demo is going to be about.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I want to start with just a quick question. Do any of you have key people in your organization that if they left, it would be a setback? I mean, picture that person and imagine that they gave notice today. Tomorrow, they're gone. What would that be like? What would that feel like? I just want you to imagine that. Now, what would it be like if you had a process to make it fairly painless to get a new employee to replace that person who's leaving? And processes for getting them trained and up to speed quickly and efficiently. You had a hiring system, a training system, a way to manage the new employee. Now, how would that feel? I think it's important because if you have things carefully thought out and documented and implemented, if it was easy to hire and train new people and get them up to speed quickly and efficiently, business is just so much easier. Or if everything is so well organized in your business that your employee turnover rate is super low because it's a really great place to work. It's really fun to work there. And you just don't need to have to fire and hire a lot of employees. That's what it means to have a systemized business. I'd like to start off with this whole conversation about employee turnover because there's quite there's some remarkable studies done on the costs to hire a new employee. This guy, his name's Brad Smart. He's a consultant to many Global 1000 companies, but he's also a consultant to many mid-sized companies. He's got a PhD in organizational psychology at Purdue University. He wrote this book called Top Grading. I've read this book, and I'd recommend it if you want to get really depressed about the true cost of employee turnover. His research indicates that 75% of the time companies make a hiring error. They hire the wrong person for the position, and the cost of that mishire, he says, the cost of that mishire is 15 times their annual salary. Now, I'll say that when I read that, I couldn't really believe that the figure could be that much. I mean, 15 times the position's annual salary, but this guy's done the research. I haven't. I just read his book, but I was stunned about what he was writing about. And if you think about it, you've got the expense of recruiting a new employee. You have the expense in both time and money of training the employee. You have the cost of lost opportunity while they're learning how to do what they need to do. You have the cost of the mistakes they make while they're learning, as well as the reputation that you have with your clients, which can be damaged if they do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing. You have the cost of the frustrations and the interruptions that they cause with both their manager as well as their colleagues during their first 4 to 6 months on the job. So if we were to estimate this cost, instead of saying 15 times their annual salary, let's just say it's 1.5 times their salary, which I think is being super conservative. That means that if you have an employee who is making an annual salary of, let's say, $40,000 a year, the very least it's going to cost you to replace that employee is $60,000. And once they get started, that new employee will be about 25% productive in their first month on the job. So they may get to 50% productivity in the first 3 months, and it will take as long as 5 or 6 months to get up to speed. This is a huge opportunity cost. Maybe the cost is as much as 15 times their annual salary. It's tough to say, but this cost is almost always covert rather than overt. In other words, it just doesn't show up on your financial statements because it's time, it's frustration, it's energy, it's interruptions, it's opportunities lost. And if you're settling for low-grade producers because you just can't face hiring, you can't face firing and then rehiring, well, they're never going to get to 100% productivity, and that opportunity cost is lost month after month after month. So before we begin, I just want to introduce myself. This is me. My name's Michael Mills, and Michael Curry, thank you for that introduction. I'm one of the founders of Business Design Corporation. This is actually a picture of me taken in India. Some of my clients call this my Ray Charles look. We were actually sitting in a tea house just outside of the Red Fort in Old Delhi. In fact, this picture is a reflection of me in this smoked glass coffee table that I was sitting next to. The year was 2005. This was about 8 or 9 years after I started my current company. My wife, my 14-year-old son, and I had taken a 14-month adventure traveling around the world. Almost a year and a half. And we were able to do this because I was fortunate enough to have systemized my business. I was able to take almost a year and a half off and have one of the most amazing adventures with my family that I could have ever imagined. It was the greatest thing I've done to date. And by the way, if you want to read some of my ramblings and journal entries from that adventure, you can go to a website that I created while we were traveling. It's called www.anepicadventure.com right here. You'll get quite a chuckle. I can promise you that some of these stories you'll find very entertaining. But life wasn't always so well organized. I started my first business in 1983 after graduating with a degree in English and philosophy from Trinity College at the University of Toronto. Yes, I'm a Canadian. You may hear it a few times as we go through this presentation, especially when I say out and about. But this is my classic tale of ineptitude. Now, just so you can relate to how long ago 1983 was and what the landscape was like back then, a 5 megabyte hard drive cost you $5,000. Mike's going to get a big chuckle out of this one. I mean, today, downloading one song will eat up 5 megs of hard drive space. Well, it was in this landscape that I started a software company computerizing art galleries, as if the market was big enough and art galleries could actually afford personal computers and expensive LaserJet printers. I think the HP LaserJet came out at about that time, and it was something like $5,500 or $6,500. But it was really expensive back then. And would art galleries actually know what to do with computers and softwares? But nevertheless, I got started. I moved to New York City from Toronto, and I had this amazing time living in New York. I was working my butt off. I was computerizing art galleries all over Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom. I mean, we did all of the big galleries, Larry Gagosian, Andy Warhol, many, many others. And my company grew on my passion and my hard work. I was in my mid-20s and early 30s. I was working my tail off, as I said, and I was loving it. I thought I was going to be in the next Bill Gates. I mean, I felt like I was invincible. All I had to do was work really hard, and it would all just happen. I guess I don't have to tell you that it never really happened in this company. I moved to California. I opened up a second location. There really wasn't a big enough target market to warrant 2 locations. And as a result, because I didn't want to downsize the company and move back to New York, I sold the company in 1993. It was the metaphorical equivalent of a very expensive and very long 10-year MBA program. But I was still young, and while not quite as energetic as I'd been in the early years, I still felt like I had another chance. And I say now, if only I knew then what I know now. I spent the next couple of years doing some consulting, generally trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. I read Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, Why Most Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. I really connected with the message in this book. In fact, I'm sort of curious, for those of you on the call, how many of you have heard of Michael Gerber? Can you just type in the chat box? Yes, you've heard of them. No, I haven't heard of them. Who's heard of, yeah, Nan says yes, or, okay, great. Anybody never heard of Michael Gerber? And I think he's got a book out. I'm pretty sure he's got a book out called The E-Myth Insurance Agency. So you might consider that. But needless to say, I really connected with the message in this book, and the business that I'd been running, my art file business, had just about burned me out because everything depended on me. It was very difficult to get good employees. It was very difficult to get them to do the things the way I wanted them done. I didn't have documented processes. I really didn't have very effective job descriptions. I didn't have a strategic plan. I was just winging it. You know, I was flying by the seat of my pants. I was just coming into work every day. And most of the entrepreneurs who were my clients when I started doing the E-Myth, they were exactly the same way. Their lives were being consumed by their business, when in fact, they'd started their business so that they could get more life and a better work-life balance. So I was one of the first consultants to go through the E-Myth certification process. This is a more conservative picture of me, although I'm not very fond of wearing a suit. You'll usually find me in more casual business attire. But I did start Business Design Corporation, consulting with small business owners using the E-Myth Mastery program. We consulted using E-Myth Mastery for many, many years, and while the program was good, it was a little too theoretical. Our clients were not getting their processes written. So we created the Touchstone Business System, and this was done as a result of working with all of these businesses to systemize their organizations. And we developed a step-by-step business systemization plan, which is really a synthesis of our successful strategies, sort of simplified down to the nuts and bolts necessary to get it done without having to read thousands and thousands of pages of theory. Essentially, we put the E-Myth theory into practice by creating a simpler way to systemize a business. We've had more than 17 years of experience working with entrepreneurs just like you in many different industries, helping them create process-dependent businesses. So as Mike said, we were originally introduced to Mike. Actually, Mike, it was a little bit, I think it was more like 2 years ago, but we've been talking for about 6 months now. And because of Michael's extensive familiarity with the insurance agency and business, and as well as Julie's, we started to see this unique opportunity to help build a library of processes for a niche market, the insurance agency. So we are focusing on the creation of a library of business processes specifically for this industry. We're building out that library and putting it online and integrating it into the Touchstone system just to make the process of systemizing an insurance agency even easier. But I will get back to that in a moment. I want to try a poll here. I'm curious about your interest in systemization. Hold on a second. Let me find my polls. Polls. Here we go. I'm interested to know how many of you know you need processes. If you could just let me know. There's 3 options here. Yes, I need them. I don't know whether or not I need them. Or no, I don't need them. How many of you, some people know this. Okay, we're almost finished. Anybody else vote? We're not quite through the polls. Let's see. So basically 70% of you say, yep, I know I need them. And 30% are unsure. Nobody is saying they don't need them. Okay, let me close this poll. I have one more poll for you. And this one is, what has your experience been like with systemizing your business? So if you've been able to systemize your business, just say, great, yeah, I'm fully systemized. I've got it nailed. But on the other hand, the other option is, well, I've tried, but I haven't really been able to systemize my business. How many of you, so far it's 100%, have not been able to systemize your business? That doesn't surprise me. While I'm waiting for the rest of you to vote, I will tell you a story. I was speaking to about 300 State Farm agents, State Farm insurance agents. This was some time ago. And I was on stage and I asked them, okay, how many of you have read the E-Myth? And Michael had done this whole program for State Farm, so I knew that. So I was I was padding the numbers. But I said, how many of you have read the E-Myth? And almost everybody, all 300 agents, put their hand up. And then I said, so if you've completely systemized your business, keep your hand up. If you've been unable to systemize your business, put your hand down. Every single agent put their hand down except one. And I asked him at a break, I said, yeah, great job. How come? It turns out he was a consultant and he was helping insurance agencies systemize their business. So it really didn't even count. So what's interesting is that the statistics show up time and time again. Most people know they need processes, but most people don't know how to do it, and they've failed. Okay, guys, so what I want to do, I'm going to keep going here, and just to make sure that I've closed the polls, Mike and Julie, if you don't see my slides changing from this point forward, just jump in and holler at me. So here's what we're going to learn in today's presentation. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of having documented operating procedures, why you need processes. I want to show you that the formula for creating a business that gives you all the freedom and the abundance that you want, it's built around the simple concept of having a documented set of instructions that you can use to delegate activities to be able to produce a consistent result in everything you do in every department in your organization or company. And next, I'm going to share with you, from the knowledge we've gained from the hundreds of thousands of businesses that we've talked to over the years, why it is that you've probably failed, because 100% of you told me that you've been unable to systemize your business, why it is that you failed at systemizing your business. And I'm assuming that you failed. I mean, I don't think you'd be here if you had everything systemized. In part 3, I'm going to show you what's missing, the 2 key things you need to be able to create a process-dependent business, and those 2 key things missing are a plan and a tool. In part 4, I'm going to go through that plan. We call it the 5-step business systemization plan. These are the 5 steps for creating a process-dependent business. I will be showcasing a tool specifically designed to organize and implement your processes, and that's the Touchstone Business System. That's what what Mike told you about. And finally, I want to show how you get your processes organized and implement in an organic, fluid way, so that they maintain their currency. They're always kept up to date. This doesn't need to be difficult. On the contrary, it's very simple. It's people who make it hard. So we're going to actually roll up our sleeves. We're going to dig in, and we're going to begin the process of building a systemic infrastructure for your business, and I'll show you just how easy this can be. let me explain that a little why today's presentation is probably different than other presentations that you may have attended before, is that what you're going to hear today, it's born from 17 years of experience working with all types of entrepreneurs and all types of and sizes of businesses, helping them get their business into a state of people dependency, or moving from a state of people dependency to a state of process dependency. This is not a sales presentation. This is not going to be a demo of Touchstone of some product or service, although I will be showcasing that tool. And there is an offer, as Michael said, that there is an offer at the end of today's presentation to take that tool for a test drive because it's the best and most widely used process implementation tool available. But I'll get to that later. Suffice it to say, this is not a demo of that product. And this presentation is not theoretical. I'm not going to teach you a bunch of mumbo-jumbo theory. This is about putting theory into action. And if you've read the E-Myth, as I suspect, well, some of you have said that you have, this is very specifically about putting that E-Myth theory into action. And what I'm going to show you today is a process that we've used to systemize hundreds and hundreds of businesses so that business owners, they're able to regain a healthy work-life balance, and employees, they feel more confident and more successful in their positions. It's also so that you can have a business that runs more profitably and more consistently. This is not hype, it's working knowledge. On the other hand, if you're not intending to scale or grow your agency, then this is probably not for you. If you've already systemized your business, this is probably not for you. But if you want your business to be humming along, providing you the opportunity to make money whether or not you're there, then you need to get your processes documented, organized, and implemented in a way that they can be easily found, so they can be easily used. And you need to make it so that they can become these fluid, dynamic tools so that they can be kept current. I mean, what would it be like if on a moment's notice you could take off on a multi-week vacation? Say you're gone for 4, 6 weeks, and while you're gone, you're not really thinking about the business. You're totally present. You're in the moment with whoever it is that you're doing this with, and then you come back maybe 4 weeks, 6 weeks later, and your business hasn't missed a beat. Your business actually generated new leads, converted some of those leads into sales. Your existing customers are awesomely happy, and it all happened when you weren't even there. Imagine what that would be like. So you can actually have an agency where everyone in the organization knows what is expected of them, and they know exactly how to do what they need to do to achieve those expectations. You can have a business in which your employees are loyal, and they're actually helping you get the business to where you want it to go. You're helping them to achieve the vision you have, say 3 to 5 or maybe even 7 years from now. And you can have a business that can give you the freedom, the profitability, and the abundance and the ability to scale and still keep a healthy work-life balance. This is, frankly, it's simple. It's just not easy. So a couple of house rules regarding systemizing. If you're looking for a quick fix, quick being the operational word, this is not the place to be. This is like real world, roll up your sleeves, dig in, get it done stuff. House rule number 2, we don't do it all for you. Organizing and implementing your processes, it's not a project, it's a process, and we're going to teach you how to think systematically. I hope to be able to teach you how to write a process and how to organize and implement them, but this is an ongoing thing. Your processes will accumulate over time. That's really, really critical. They accumulate and evolve over time. Our goal is to teach you how to make that happen organically, how to keep the processes and operations manual dynamic, fluid, how to create an environment where everyone in your organization, everyone in the agency is contributing to the development and innovation of your business. Okay, so why is it so hard? We speak to thousands of business owners every year, and time again, almost every entrepreneur we speak to tells us that they know they need to get their processes written and implemented, but they can't seem to do so. I mean, that's what we found out today. 100% of you know that who know they need processes haven't been able to do it. So why? Why is it so hard? Well, we believe that there are 2 key reasons. The first is the lack of a process development plan, and the second is the lack of a process development tool. A plan and a tool. So the first reason then, the lack of a process development plan. There's no strategy and there's no accountability for getting these processes written. There are steps that can be taken, and I'm going to share with you the 5-step plan for making this happen, but it's important to know that you as the business owner, you can't do this all by yourself. You need to enroll, and I use that word intentionally. You need to enroll your people to assist you with process development and implementation. You need to create a culture where everyone in the business understands why it is in their interest to have a set of documented instructions that they can use when necessary to achieve what they need to achieve. They need to know how to do things, and they need to believe that it's valuable to have this. So the second reason, the lack of a process development tool, a lot of times there's just no effective tool to organize the processes so that they can be implemented. Most business owners we speak to, and probably some of you on the call, you use some sort of a document management application. Maybe, a 3-ring binder. That's how we used to do it. Back in '94, we would have systemized your business using a 3-ring binder. Today, people are using applications like Google Docs or Dropbox or SharePoint, or just storing them on their file servers and file folders. Well, these are document sharing applications, and they simply don't work for organizing your processes, or I would say that they don't work very well, because processes, they get too complex for a document sharing application. It may work if you have an HR department with a full-time document manager who can find these documents that are needed, but I'm guessing that most of you on the call do not have a fully staffed HR department, so you need a tool that is designed specifically for process implementation. Before I actually get into the 5-step process development plan, the business systemization plan, I just want to distinguish the difference between process and policy, because they're often tied together. Many business owners tell me that I've got a process manual, but when I ask them to share it with me, it's not a process manual. Rather, it's a list of company policies, and most of the time there are few, if any, documented processes. So processes are like step-by-step instructions. So policies. Hold on, let me just close this thing here. Policies. Policies are a set of principles that are put into place to define and maintain behavioral expectations of employees. So these topics, they typically deal with employee behavior like dress code, harassment, cell phone use, corporate credit card usage, travel, what type of hotels we're going to stay in, what type of cars we're going to rent. Processes, on the other hand, these are a sequence of steps with expectations that are to be followed in order for a task to be completed properly, efficiently, consistently. Basically, to be able to accomplish whatever it is that needs to be done by each employee in every department. A process is a set of step-by-step instructions that describe how to do something. You might have processes for qualifying a new lead, for doing an initial consultation, for putting together a proposal and delivering that proposal on, say, life insurance, doing a life insurance presentation, maybe for onboarding a new employee, for doing collections, dealing with insurance companies. Processes help employees and managers do what they need to do to be able to achieve a consistent and reliable result. Here's an example. This is an example of a dress code policy from Starbucks. They now allow employees to show non-offensive visible tattoos as long as they are not on the face or throat, which is why you will not be seeing this guy working at a Starbucks near you anytime soon. On the other hand, an example of a process, these would be the detailed steps taken to make a like a double decaf, half calf, coca mocha. I don't even know if this is a real drink, but if I was a barista at a Starbucks, I would have a documented set of step-by-step instructions, a process that would be used to help me learn. I would be trained in this. I would be evaluated on how to make this really complicated concoction. And that's why you can get your favorite Starbucks coffee in Seattle or California or Texas or Boston or New Delhi. And it will always taste the same. It will be exactly what you want and what you're expecting. So today I'm focusing on process implementation. I'm not talking about policies. So let's start with the 5-step plan. We've developed this 5-step plan that is used to discover, prioritize, document, implement, and manage all of the processes in your agency. And there are 5 steps. The first step, by the way, isn't about systemization at all. It's all about understanding your destination. What is your business going to look like, say, 3 to 5 years from now? I mean, after all, if you don't know where you're going, how the heck are you ever going to get there? Step number 2 is to create a graphic picture of what that destination will look like. And this is what will become your organization chart. Step number 3, and by the way, I'm going to go through each of these. I just wanted to give you the overall plan, and then we'll go into each one of these steps. Step number 3 is defining the procedures that you think are necessary in that future organization. I mean, how will you generate new leads? How will you convert those new leads into long-term paying loyal clients? How do you deliver on the promises that you made in that sales process? What back office operational procedures do you need? Like hiring, firing, onboarding, payroll, collections, training, backing up your computers, all of the administrative and financial activities. How will you guide and manage the business from where you are today to where you want to get to? So in this process, you're not actually describing how the process is done. That will come later. In this step, you're just naming what needs to be done. In step number 4, once you've named the procedures, you will connect them to the boxes on your organizational chart. So if you think about this, you've identified everything that needs to be done in the business. You've identified all of the positions that you'll need in the business, and you've connected everything that needs to be done to all of the positions. You've created complete functional accountability. Everything that needs to be done is being done by someone in the business. Very, very powerful step to get to. And finally, in step number 5, you'll begin to prioritize your procedures, because after step number 4, you haven't written all of your processes. You've just created this systemic foundation. In step number 5, you'll start prioritizing the processes, which are the most important processes to get written as soon as possible, and who's going to help you write them. Now, almost every business owner I speak to will ask me, how long is it going to take to systemize my business? And again, I said this earlier, it's important to know that systemizing your business, it's not a project. It's a process. And the actual writing of your procedures is ongoing. It never ends. But the 5-step systems development plan, your business systemization plan, it can be done pretty much in 4 to 6 hours. And again, I stress, it's not that all of your processes are written in 4 to 6 hours, but your systemic foundation is built in somewhere between 4 and 6 hours. And this is a very powerful series of steps to get to. You'll be very clear on your vision. You have a clear understanding of all of the positions and processes you need to achieve that vision, and you've created complete functional accountability. You have position-specific operating manuals for every box on your organizational chart, and you've prioritized a plan for getting all of these processes written. It is a very, very powerful step to take. Okay, so we're going to dig in now. What's the first step? The first step is to define what your business is going to look like, say, 3 to 5 years from now. This is such a critical step. I mean, studies show that if you do this and if you take action and track and communicate the process that you've made on your vision, you have a 300% better chance of achieving your goal than if you do not take this step. 300% better chance if you define where you want to be, if you write it down, if you share it with your employees, and you actually track the progress that you're making. So why do so few business owners do it? Well, there are a couple of reasons. The primary reason is they don't know how. Another reason is they just get stuck doing. It's what Michael Gerber calls the tyranny of routine. Just doing it over and over and over again. They don't do any strategic planning. So I want to share today a process that we have an entire, actually we have this webinar is not all about this, but I do want to show you the process because we have an entire webinar that focuses on developing your vision, which includes your purpose, your values, your mission. But I want to show you very quickly that it's not very difficult to do. I'm going to toggle out, 1, 2, hold on a second. Oops. I want to toggle out to the library that we're building for insurance companies, And I want to show you this process that I've downloaded into this library. It's called the Strategic Planning Process. So you'll notice when you come up here, you can add from your process libraries. This is what a Touchstone account is going to look like. I've already downloaded this process called Strategic Planning. This is one of the first things I suggest that you do if you get a Touchstone account, is come to this process, download it from the library, put it into your Touchstone account, and start working on your strategic plan. The very first thing you're going to do is going to click on this work plan over here that says watch this video, and you can click on this and open it in another browser, and you can actually go through and watch this incredible video. It's a great video. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to start creating your vision, creating your strategic plan, creating your rhythm, meeting rhythm. So you click here, and it's going to open up another work plan for you on how to create your vision. And you will actually write in your purpose, values, and big, hairy, audacious goal, your mission. And you'll put it right into the very tool that's used to help you create it. So your answers are embedded within the assignment, which is very valuable. So you'll go through and you'll answer some of these questions. And once you develop your purpose, you will come in here and you will type in, this is our purpose. We give you an example, but you'll take out the example and you will replace it with whatever your purpose is. And then you'll click Save. If you're confused on how to do this, we have a whole set of questions right here that you can follow through. You can just click here and you can go through this form and you can answer these questions. They're just a whole bunch of questions. And this is a really excellent exercise because if you don't know the answers to these questions, that doesn't mean anything. All it means is that you don't know the question. And it might be a good idea to do a little bit of research to find out the answer to that question. Like if you don't know what return on equity means, Google it or ask someone or find out why that's important. And if it's not important to you, don't worry about it. But this really helps you build your strategic plan and your vision. So once you've got this vision created, we actually give you tools for how to stay on track towards achieving that vision. We give you a sample meeting rhythm. I mean, how often should you meet? Well, we've got suggestions from all of the work that we've done with previous companies. And what you'll do is you'll come in and you will adjust these to make it yours. We typically recommend that you take 2 full days for an annual planning meeting. And the deliverables at the end of that annual planning meeting will be your 3 to 5 annual priorities for this coming year, as well as your 3 to 5 priorities for the first quarter. And then each quarter you should have a full day planning meeting to look to see how did last quarter do and what are we going to do in the next quarter. And then each month you should probably have a half day to decide how well are we doing this quarter. In fact, it comes all the way down to daily huddles. Now, we don't do daily huddles here, but we do all the rest. And in this way, you can take this huge, big, hairy, audacious goal, this goal where you want to get to, say, 5 years from now, and you can actually break it down into what you need to do weekly. This is a very, very powerful process. And you can define these priorities in a form within the application and actually list them here and track the progress that you're making on them. And we've even got a work plan for how to track and adjust your key performance indicators. We even have sample agendas. So this is what an agenda might look like for your annual meeting and your quarterly meeting. And this is what an agenda might look like for your monthly and weekly planning meeting. So this is what a process might look like. And if you look at this is why document sharing applications don't work very well. This is one process called strategic planning. It has 6 work plans. It has an uploaded file. It has a video in it. It has forms. In Touchstone, all of these tools, all of the documentation are organized in Touchstone in what we call Touchstone process tools within a specific process name called strategic planning process. And you'll see in a moment it's actually linked to a specific job description like the president. In fact, I would link it to the president. I would link it to the sales manager, the operations manager. So these people, all they have to do to find this application is come in here, click on their specific position, and up pops the strategic planning process. They know exactly where to go to get what they need. But that's what if you could do that, that would be a great thing. If you this content is free to you, if you want to try getting a Touchstone account. Okay, so after you define your destination, you want to create a graphic picture of what that business is going to look like organizationally. How many salespeople will you need? How many account managers? So basically, once you've got this vision, you're going to come over here and you're going to create your organization chart. Very simple. And what we say is you want to create the organizational chart of the future business. So actually, if you could let me know who on the call, if you could just type into your chat log box, who's got an org chart? Who's just say yes or no. How many of you have an org chart? Nope, nope, nope. Okay, no. An organization chart is so powerful. The problem is that most organization charts are done following an assignment that was given to the business owner by a consultant. But it's rare that they're actually used as a strategic growth tool. Usually it's just created and filed away. I mean, if someone had said yes, let me see, has anybody said yes? Nobody said yes yet. If somebody had said yes, I would have said, well, can you send it to me? And usually when I ask that question, they say, well, I'm going to have to find it. I don't know where it is, or I'm going to have to get it updated. I haven't looked at it for a long time. An organization chart is such a powerful tool. It helps you define all of the positions in your organization. It will help you to determine who you need to hire next, who they will report to. It will help you answer the questions, how much can I afford to pay them? How quickly do I need a return on my investment? What should I expect of them? And how will they achieve what is expected of them? I mean, it's just this incredibly powerful tool. So that's step number 2. Step number 1, define the destination. Step number 2, create the org chart of that future organization. The next step is to begin to think about all of the necessary processes that you need for achieving your vision. And I want you to think about your business in a new way. I want you to rise above the landscape and think of your business as having 4 key functions. There are only 4 key functions in any business. So your agency has 4 key functions. The first one, getting the business. These will be all of your sales and marketing processes. Second key function we call doing the business. These are all of the processes for delivering on the promise made during the sales procedure. These are processes for client fulfillment, production, customer service, all of the processes that are directly related to what you do for your clients. Step number 3, key function number 3, the processes that go on behind the scenes like invoicing, paying your bills, collections, hiring, firings, financial statements, backing up the computers, essentially all of the financial, administrative, human resource type activities and IT type processes. And finally, guiding the business. These are the strategic processes for leading, managing, and guiding the business from where you are today to where you want to get to. In the simplest of terms, there are really only 4 key functions that can happen in a business. You've got to get the business, you've got to deliver on the promise, you've got all of these back office operational procedures, and you've got to guide and manage things to get to where you want to get to. It's basically simple. 4 key things. I mentioned that Mike and Julie and I are working on a library together to develop operating procedures for insurance agencies. This is a snapshot of doing the business. There are links to sample process names for each of the 4 key functions, and while there is a template of process names for each of the 4 key functions, we typically recommend that you start doing it on your own. So let's see what this is like. I'm going to toggle over to a blank account. Bear with me for a second. Oops. Not this account. I want to go to this one here. Oh. How do I? Oh, that's because it's. Where is it? Come here, baby. Here it is. Duh. Okay. So let's go here, and this is audience participation. So I need you to type in things as you think of them. I want to start by thinking about how you generate business, how you get leads. So tell me, type into the chat log box, how do you guys find business? How do you generate new business? Just let me know what you do. And I'll give you an example of this. This is what I was working with a client the other day, and I asked her this question, and she said, this is what I just did recently is I analyzed my database. I got all these people who had bought from me in the past but hadn't bought in the last year, and we're creating this email, and the email says and blah, blah. And I said, no, Melissa. Her name was Melissa. I said, that's not what I'm asking. That's how you do it. What I need to know is what, the what. So if that was a process, what would the process name? And she said, that would be, let's see, that would be retargeting past clients. So that's what I'm looking for. So great. So one of the processes I'm getting here is referrals. Perfect. So I come up in here and I say add new process, and I type in referrals. And I say, well, where's this going to go? This is really about generating new leads. So I'm going to place that right here, and I press enter, save, and it's going to save that name right there. Any other processes that were great? Email marketing. Someone's putting in. Someone said email marketing. So great. So we put in email marketing, and that's also lead generation. So all we're doing in this step is we're naming processes. What other processes do you do? Someone says seminars. Great. So you put on seminars. Seminars. Great. Someone says promotional. I'm assuming what that's like a team or something like that. You PR. So yeah, teams. Yeah, right. Okay. So let me just say PR, sponsoring teams. Someone else is telling me that they alliances with brokers. Great. Perfect. Okay. So perfect. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Alliances. So developing alliances with brokers. This is the first step. All you are doing in this step is naming processes. What you'll do after let me see, are there any others people gave me? Okay, no, that's okay. Sometimes I can't get to all of the process names that people are giving me, so I apologize if I haven't been able to get to those process names, but I've got to keep going on. I really appreciate what you're giving me. So this is the first step, and after you've filled out the one key function, you'll go to the next key function, and you'll go to the next key function, and you'll go to the next key function. This typically takes about 2 to 4 hours. And after you've gone through this, you can actually go to our library of processes where you can draw down processes in like activity tracking or activity logging. You can draw down this process and add it to your Touchstone account. Let's just make this bigger here. Hold on a second. I need to go down to the bottom here. Come on, baby. Oops. So you'll draw down this my GoToMeeting screen. I got to get this save button here. So you'll draw this process down into your own Touchstone account, and some of these will actually be written. And so if you hadn't thought about this, you might pull down this process, and these are the types of processes that we're actually writing for you and putting them into your Touchstone account. So you open up the activity log, you'll see that many choices, you can start tracking your logging by clicking on this and going through, and these are the types of instructions that you want. But that said, what we typically say is don't go to the library at the beginning. Go through the experience of thinking about what is unique to your business and the way that you do things. Think about your business first, and then once you've exhausted all your ideas, then go to the sample list of process names, and we'll help you fill in the gaps. I'll show you in the library, we've started to develop quite a list of processes for different types of, specifically for insurance companies. So we're really building on this list, and we've got a set of templates in each of the 4 key functions. Here's that strategic planning process. Process tools for management, process tools for sales. This is what you have access to. Okay, let's go back to this. In step number 4, you're going to start linking the processes that you have named to specific positions on your organizational chart. And in doing this, what you're starting to do is you're creating clear and measurable job descriptions for every position in your company. And you're creating complete functional accountability. You've defined all of the tasks that need to be accomplished. You've defined all of the positions that need to be filled in the company. And you've assigned all of those tasks to specific positions so that you're now confident that everything that needs to be done has been assigned to a specific position who will do it. So I showed you that a moment ago, how you actually can link a process to a specific position on your organizational structure. And again, we'll go into more detail on this if you're interested in a demo of Touchstone. A quick word about job descriptions. I'm starting to wrap it up here. When we are working with companies, I often ask them if they have job descriptions, and usually the answer is yes. And I say, well, can I see one? And when I look at them, they're usually something like this. The purpose of that job description, of this job description, it's for hiring. And this is like what a typical job description is. This is actually this is an actual job description that one of our clients was using as a job description before becoming a client of ours. But as you can see, it's sort of a description of the job. It's really nothing more than a hiring document. What if a job description could be more of a position-specific operation manual, a set of instructions that is used to train, not only to hire, but used to train, manage, and evaluate an employee? And because it's used to evaluate the employee, both the employee filling the position and the manager of that employee, they tend to keep their eyes on their job description and the processes, and as a result, they stay current. I mean, they become dynamic, fluid documents that grow and change organically as things change in the business. These tools are actually used in a week-to-week management and day-to-day operation of the business. And as a result, they tend to stay current organically. It's easy to keep them up to date. In the Touchstone application, because all of the processes from the process database have been linked to positions on the org chart, the job description is just this wonderful list of all of the procedures someone filling that position is held accountable to. So someone needs to know what they need to do. They simply find their position on the organizational chart and they click. And then they click on the specific process that they're interested in following, and all of the detailed instructions for that specific process will appear, and they can follow those instructions to achieve the expectations that you have of them. So how do you get your processes written? It's not rocket science to do this. It's really simple, but it's not that easy. It takes time. And it's important for you to think of it as a process rather than a project. It's something that's going to happen over a span of time, and it continues to happen for as long as the business is alive. Processes accumulate, and they evolve from very simple processes to more granular. You just do a little bit at a time. You don't have to be focused on it every day. I mean, I think most of the time I do it just a few times a month. There are some ideas for getting processes implemented. Like, for example, during the training of a new employee. You could actually, if you're training someone and you don't have the process documented, have them write down what you're telling them. And then give them some time during the day to document what they've written into your Touchstone account. Or if you don't have Touchstone, just get them to write it up in Word. And then review it and edit what they wrote the following day. if you think a bit about it, think of how well trained they're going to be. You're telling them how to do what they need to do. You can be sure that they're paying attention because they know they're responsible for documenting what they're learning. And then they're writing it up, and then you're reviewing it with them the following day. You're actually engaging multiple sensory experiences, auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and you're repeating the process 3 times, once during training, once during writing it up, and then the 3rd time during review. It's very, very powerful step to take. Another example is making a game of it. We had a client of ours who was a Century 21, and the problem was that 80% of their revenue was being generated by 20% of their agents. So we created a contest, and we took their agents and we put them on different teams, and they gave a listing presentation. And the owner, they actually recorded these listing presentations, and it was an amazing experience. He then took all the nuggets from the presentations and he put them together, and he trained them in the listing presentation, and the result was that his sales just jumped exponentially. And the winner of the game got a great present. It was a limo trip down into San Francisco and dinner out at the theater. It was really great. So as a next step, I'm going to suggest scheduling yourself for a demo of Touchstone so that you can see how easy it is to actually manage your processes. Today's presentation is not meant to be a demo of Touchstone. I just wanted to showcase it to show you that this tool was out there. If you take action within the next 7 days, and by that I mean there's a link that will be sent to you very shortly. If you take action in the next 7 days, you'll get a free month trial of Touchstone. You'll get a free copy of our ebook called How to Systemize Your Business, and all you have to do is click for a demo. Let me just see. One last slide. I just want to, one last slide, actually 2 last slides. I want to end with this, the value of having documented procedures, because the value of your company is not exclusively based on revenue or profitability. Those are important, but it's also based on your processes. If the business is not duplicatable, the business cannot be brought to the next level. There's a guy named Paul Lemberg. He's the CEO of a company called Quantum Growth Consulting, and he found that systemized businesses increase value by as much as 100%. And every system, if you don't have everything done, every system that you write is actually adding a new asset to your business. And this is a colleague of mine, Scott Fritz. He wrote a really good book called The 40-Hour Work Year. Scott wrote, "To me, the basic definition of a business owner is someone who can afford to hire an employee to do their job. Until you can afford to hire this person, you don't own a business, you own a job." So I love that saying. So we're a little bit over the hour. Mike, do you want to come back on? Do we have time for any questions? Are there any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. That was great, and I really appreciate you giving such a great presentation. I think this is going to be very valuable for everyone on the call and for those who will be listening to the recording. I really just wanted to give everyone a chance to ask questions. I've got Julie here too that can answer or add to those questions so that we can help with guiding you and making this transition to systemizing your business run smooth.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions. Does anybody have any questions? If you have questions, you can either raise your hand and I'll unmute the phone, or you can just say unmute me in the chat box, or you can ask your question in the chat box.
Is it possible just to unmute everyone to make it easier for them, and if all of a sudden there's too much noise, we can mute a few?
Let me see if I can do that. Okay, hold on. Let me see. You know what? Okay, I think so. I don't know how to unmute Dave. But everybody else should be unmuted. Does anybody have questions? Of course, they would have to unmute their phone, but does anybody have questions? Irene, Nancy, questions? Nope, not seeing any. Okay. Okay. So let's, I think, shall we wrap it up then, Mike?
Yeah, everyone has our email address, so feel free to email us if you'd like to. We, as Michael, I don't remember if you mentioned, but we're offering a 1-month free trial of the Touchstone product. It will have some framework of the insurance processes that you already noticed. So if you're interested, just feel free to call or email us, and we'll get you set up and going with that.
Okay,
I
great.
think there's a link that right? And then that way they're registering for that next.
Yeah. They'll an email will be going out shortly to those who attended today, and then you can register for either a trial. Someone did say, can I email questions later today and tomorrow? Absolutely. You can email them to either myself or Mike Curry. So Michael's email is right here, michael@proactivenetworks.com, and my email is mmills@businessdesigncorp.com. And we can answer them live too. If you want to call us, either Julie, Mike, or myself can answer your questions live as well. So feel free to email them. As I said, I'll send out an email very shortly with a link where you can get a demo, or you can go right to register for a free trial, if that's of interest to you. So that completes today's presentation on how to systemize your insurance agency. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for attending. I want to say thanks to Michael Curry for allowing me to speak. I appreciate the time, Mike. I hope it's been valuable to everybody and that you can actually put to use what you've learned today. And if you have questions, please feel free to contact either Michael Curry or myself. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.